Okay, everybody, this is Will Stiverson, Regional Director with Consumer Energy Options. I've muted out the lines. We have a guest speaker. Sometimes he's the one interviewing people on these conference calls, but this time I actually will be interviewing Matt Hirschenberger, our Executive Director of Growth and Development. He is just an absolute wealth of knowledge, and Matt's not one that ever really talks about himself or talks about what he's accomplished. But I got to tell you guys, this guy had an organization of almost 22,000 agents. He started off with very humble beginnings, and when he got introduced to the idea of leveraging his income, he took hold of it. And what we're going to, I guess if you will, what we're going to go over today is kind of his story and where he sees the vision of CEO and what we can do no matter where we're at with CEO, whether you're just brand new coming in, maybe you've been with CEO for a little while and you're getting reacquainted, or maybe you're somebody that's been consistently doing it and you want to find out how to take to the next level. Matt is the guy that can help you no matter where you're at do that. So I feel very blessed to have him in the company, and I just want to thank all of you in advance for taking the time out of your busy day to be on this call to hear what Matt can do to help us grow our business. And thank you, Matt, for saying yes to this interview. So if you want to hit *6, Matt, we'll get right down and dirty into these questions and help our CEO agents out.
Okay, well,
you there, Matt?
I'm here. Yep.
Oh, okay, buddy. Hey, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, can you describe the first time you were introduced to the concept of leveraging your income?
Sure, Will. And before I do, I'd just like to say real quick, Will, great job on hosting these calls. I mean, you do such a fantastic job, and we have other leaders that do as well. I wanted to say great job. And then also for those of you guys who are able to listen, you're going to find yourselves in the future the ones that are really able to tie in and grow teams. And a lot of times you may be hosting these calls yourself for your own team, or it might just be part of a corporate call that we do. But I just want to let you guys know that ahead of time, these are very key, common elements that are huge for growth and success. So great job for being on the call. I do remember it, Will, the first time that I was introduced to the concept of leveraging income. I think for everybody here, it's also important to figure out where you were when you first heard of it. And for me, I was a student. I was studying to become a school teacher over at Saginaw Valley State University. And so a good buddy of mine, a friend of mine, was really, really excited. And I remember the month. It was November of 1994. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know what I was going to go learn about. All I knew is I had a friend that was really excited, and he told me that we were going to make some money. And it was kind of a unique thing with my friend. He happened to he was born in Laos, so sometimes when he got real excited, he would actually have a couple different languages coming out at one time. So I really couldn't understand them when it came to going to see what we were seeing. And we drove to Grand Rapids, and I had no preconceived notions about what I was going to see. I had no clue what was going to happen. All I know is I'm sitting in a hotel room, and there's probably about 25 people. But I was simply captured by the thought and the concept that was presented to me. And to be honest with you, it's very similar to the exact same concept that we are sitting here with today. And I'll tell you the name of the company, and you'll understand the similarities. The name of the company was a company called Excel Communications, and they had a service, just like we do, that it was unique. It wasn't a vitamin. It wasn't a special drink. It wasn't a bar of soap. It wasn't any of that. It was something that literally all of us had, and we just used it. And I couldn't believe the fact that we could actually take advantage of a deregulated industry. It was just happening. When we grew up, the only choice we had at that time was AT&T. Some of you guys are old enough to remember a long-distance telephone call used to be a special occasion. I used to kind of fake my parents out. I'd say, hey, I'm gonna pick up the phone and dial a bunch of numbers and call China. They threatened me, and no, you're not, and because it was like 50 cents a minute or whatever it was. So back then, that was the big deregulation. Well, now the good news for us, it's even bigger because we're talking about energy, and of course, a lot of you guys know what Warren Buffett said about the deregulation of energy. It's going to be the largest shift in wealth in history. So anyway, so here I am. I listened to the idea, and the concept to me, it came to be very simple. It was like every time somebody picked up the phone and dialed 1, I had a chance to get paid. Similar to what we have here is every time somebody turns on a light, every time somebody kicks on the heat, and we actually got telecom too, but in a much bigger way. So every time that those things happen, we have a chance to get paid. But being a student, I couldn't grasp the idea of larger amounts of money. So, I wanted to believe it was true that we could make these large amounts of money, but I just couldn't grasp it. So I remember after we had the presentation, I sat down with some of the guys and I said, do you guys think it's possible I could make $600 a month extra? And I said, because man, if I could, and I factored that into my life, that'd make a big difference. And I'd say this same challenge to all you guys on the telephone, listen to this conference call. How many people in your life, think of it in your own, whatever your income is right now, what if you added an extra $600 a month? This was just my initial goal when I got introduced to this industry. So if you could add $600 a month, what I'm telling you is that all the illustrations that Will has given you about what it could do, it's a big-time difference. I mean, talking about a big-time difference. So, but I wanted to go for higher, but I just, I guess I was just anxious. You know what I mean? I didn't want to get let down or something. So I remember I get home, and true story, I went home that night, and I actually said a prayer. I said, God, I have no idea what to do here, but I really want to do this. Can you give me some wisdom on how to go and do this? And so, that company, by the way, it literally, just to let you know kind of where we're sitting with CEO Energy and deregulation is that company set some historic marks. It was the youngest company to ever be accepted or invited on the New York Stock Exchange, okay? It also was the youngest company to hit $1 billion in sales, and that was just with one product, long-distance telephone service. Well, I can tell you, compared to what we have now, the energy business is so many times bigger than a long-distance telephone service. Matter of fact, long-distance telephone service is basically free now. So if you think about the industries. So again, being in college when I looked at it, Will, I looked at promotions and requirements and customer requirements. I sort of used to look at it like homework. Like for example, if I didn't want to do them. You know what I mean? Like for example, like when they said, Matt, you're going to have to go get some customers. So if you're looking at our business and you're like, man, I got to go get some customers. Okay? So I didn't want to go do it, but the alternative to me was worse than going to get the customers. So the alternative was not having the $600 extra a month. So, when I looked at that, I said, okay, it's kind of like homework. When I was in college, my professor would they would make me go out and do these projects, and man, I didn't want to do them. But the alternative was worse. The alternative was I wouldn't pass my class, and I wouldn't graduate. So I decided to get going on my homework, which is going to get customers and reps. And so the reason I bring that up is if you're on the call today and you don't feel like going to get customers, I say join the club. Me neither. I didn't feel like going to get them either, but if I knew that all I had to do was get a certain amount of customers and I could promote myself and have the chance to get paid to unlimited levels like we have, hey, I'm going to go do my homework for that. I'll go ahead and go get my customers. So, those are just a few of the things that I think about when I first got introduced to this business.
Well, when I had brought up that you had, at the end of the day, you had about 22,000 agents, I'm sure that when you first started with that company, that wasn't probably in your vision of where you would be at. What was it?
Oh, you're talking about having a group that big? Yeah. Here's what's funny about that is, and I'm serious about this. When you have a group like that, sometimes people think that you're better than what you are. And, like you'd walk into a room and sometimes people, all of a sudden, and I noticed that once the numbers get large, but if you get the law of large numbers on your side, and I'm telling you, we have the chance to do that with Consumer Energy Options. You guys all have the chance to get the law of large numbers on your side. Now, I'll explain to you what I mean by that, but one simple example is I remember getting my first, 25 reps, in my business. And by the way, guys, when I say getting reps and agents into our business, we had to pay $195 to join Excel Communications, and some of us paid $590 if we wanted to be a trainer. So literally, we're paying $200 to $600. Now, I can tell you that for a college student back then, that was pretty much everything I had. And so when you're doing that with us, Fred Krug and Tom Maher have taken every single barrier away. So literally, we can sign up with Consumer Energy Options at no cost. So when we're talking about your opportunity to really get out there and get the law of large numbers on your side, you really have that opportunity. I just want to start there. But getting your first 25 agents, at least for me, seemed like it took for a long time. But then out of those 25, a couple of leaders sort of came in, and then getting from 25 to 50 seemed a little bit easier, when that happened. And, getting from 50 to 100, and of course, time's going on, months are going by when this is happening. But once a business gets into, and they call it the critical mass period, or, some of you guys have talked about that penny a day doubling, you can't stop it. It's kind of like one of my former business mentors said, even if you're sitting down on an escalator, you're still going up. And that's sort of what I had a chance to experience. And, and it's nice. I mean, can you imagine if you have agents, you guys, this is one thing I can tell you that's so possible with a business with an unlimited compensation plan. I mean, can you imagine waking up and all of a sudden, you have 30 new business reps joined your business that day? You know what I mean? I mean, all of a sudden that day, and all those business reps are all going out there and doing what? They're gathering customers. But not for you. They're gathering customers for themselves. But you have that opportunity to plug in and get paid just a little percentage off of that. It's almost like you have a toll booth. When people drive on highways and they got to throw 50 cents in there. And at first your toll booth starts being pennies and nickels, and all of a sudden a couple dimes start coming in, and then some quarters start coming in, and then eventually you can get to where you almost you hit a jackpot every single day if you can get an organization that's growing like that. And so, when it comes down to it, that the law of large numbers makes it so possible for you to have. I mean, I think J. Paul Getty once said, I'd rather make 1% of 1,000 people's efforts rather than 100% of my own. And if you think about it, your reach, no matter what your goals, if you say, man, I just want to focus on commercial accounts, the great news is the bigger your reach, the more chance that you'll get to get your hands on just commercial accounts. If I have a team of just 5 or 10 people, even though we're really good at sales, I'm not sure our reach will be better than a team of 1,000 people who aren't very good at sales. But they have a brother, sister, friend, aunt, uncle that has ties into businesses. I can tell you that the law of large numbers can really, really work in your favor. So, when it comes down to that, Will, as far as building an organization that big, if I was to, say, oh, yeah, I set out to do this, and that, I just got caught up into helping other people get what they want. If you get a bunch of people out there getting what they want, lo and behold, that's a beautiful thing about this business. You can't help but get what you want in that process.
One thing that I heard a long time ago and always stuck with me is before you can be great, you've got to be good. Before you can be good, you've got to be bad. but before you can be bad, you have to start. So for those of you that, or for those, what would you say to those that are on the call right now, if they were to start with CEO today, or maybe this is their first week, what do you think that they need to do to start?
Hey, that's a great question. The first thing I'd say, is to let them know, having that kind of an attitude is a great attitude to go into anything, because you're kind of taking fear out of the equation. And there's a nice little acronym I always heard for fear. Fear means false education appearing real. Actually, I heard that from a guy a long time ago. Fear, false education appearing real. Get that out of the way. The only thing to go through fear, you got to go straight through it. And if someone wants to get started in our business, there really are. There's no magic bullets, but there are common elements that I think that that you can identify and to get started. And the first thing, will you bring it up on every call? I think it's the basic training. I think when you get started, even if you've been an agent for a while, the reason I say to go through that is because it was put together by agents that have been CEOs since the beginning. So why wouldn't you take their wisdom and know-how and go through those growth moments that they had to go through, and they've compiled it to something that I think a lot of times, well, you mentioned that you can go through it in 15 minutes. And I think it's so good. Sometimes you probably should go through it once a month just to kind of review it in yourself, because I think Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think the last one is always sharpen the saw. So, go ahead and sharpen your saw. Go through that basic training to give yourself the reminders. Say the second common element, another common element is, talk to your leaders all of the time, okay? If your goal is to get commercial accounts, find out who's good at it. Get out there and learn from them. There's people that are here on the call that have gotten, they've learned how to go get commercial accounts. Learn from them. Whatever your goal is, learn from those people. Talk to them. And I like to say this nearly daily. It's hard to talk every single day, but, you really want to model people who are going in your direction that you want to go. Obviously, plug into training. If you can't come on at 1 o'clock or listen to the recordings, read, okay? Develop yourself. Invest in yourself. Just realize, I don't care who you are on the call. We've got some talented people, far more talented than me, and I'll tell you that. But I'm just going to tell you, you're not perfect. Guess what? I'm not perfect. So you need to develop yourself. Your first week, I think, Will, you had a good way of saying it. Your first week in this business, it really should be just going to get mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, friend, yourself, obviously. You twist your own self arm behind your back and you sign yourself up as a customer. And I tell you, those customers are great because they're going to give you experience. Sometimes I got to tell you, you go through some of those. Some of those are the hardest customers you ever get. I never forget, trying to get my dad as a long-distance telephone service the first time I ever tried to do any kind of a customer like this. And, man, it was terrible. It was tough, but you know what? I survived. And I tried to go get him. I always joked about this. I think I've talked to you about it. I went in with rates. I learned. How would I have known? I wouldn't have known. I went in there, Dad, I want you to become my customer. And he says, well, what are your rates? And, of course, I didn't know him. And I asked him what his were, and he didn't know them. And, we both figured out, well, we both don't know it. So, but I did get the customer, and I just basically I said, please, Dad, would you become my customer? And if I can't get you, I'm not sure I can get anybody's customer. And we figured out, the world wasn't going to end if you went and tried it. And that's often what I said, just, why don't you try it out and see how you like it? And people's life goes on, and guess what? Everything's good. So, get that first week, get those customers, okay? The biggest thing is from there, I would say is you guys got to promote yourself, okay? And as I said in the beginning there, do your homework, okay? Become senior consultant. That's your first promotion. And I think that if you do those kinds of things, you're going to put yourself, in position to be unlimited income, because I can just tell you that, it's such a good feeling where, you can wake up and you literally see, at some point, thousands and thousands of customers that are using services, and you get a little percentage of each of that. And it's not that you're doing people a good service here. I mean, our agents, we take great pride in giving our customers solid advice and helping them protect them with good long-term savings. So, I mean, just in trying to answer your question, Will, I think that those are some common elements that are going to be key for helping somebody get started.
And just to add a little bit to what you just said, Matt, everything really kind of does start at that senior consultant position. You get from being able to make 8 different ways of making money, just coming into CEO. But if you get to senior consultant, you go from 8 to 16 overnight. That's 16 out of the 29 ways. I mean, everything kind of just starts there. So based on your consistent, your advice, and if you're consistently doing it, getting to senior is not really that big of a deal. You just got to be consistent. But I did, you've had this huge organization. I mean, you started somewhere and you got to, this, the top of the mountain, if you will, and now you're in energy. So where do you really see CEO going and where the industry's going and what we really can tap into with CEO?
Well, the one thing I can tell you that my feeling is with CEO Energy, it's great to be part of a team where the leadership has a vision to grow. They don't just want to sit here and, because they oh, man, we got a good little thing going here and everything's good. No, they want to grow and become huge. And, in order to do that, this is the best part about it, wanting to do that. It's really up to all of us. We have that opportunity. We can be those pioneers, so to speak, in a way. The ones that they say, the old saying is that the pioneers are the ones that take all the arrows, but the towns are named after them. So, we get a chance to be those guys. Where do I see us going? I mean, since, I've been able to come aboard and plug in, everything at first was all done through paper and things like that. We're signing contracts and things are you're more complicated. Not that it's bad. It just takes more steps. Now, I see us getting our process in every step of the way. And of course, we have to be patient because things ain't going to happen overnight. But I can tell you within this last year here, we have portals, okay? We never had portals before. We have portals that are, especially in a couple of our larger states there, Michigan and Illinois. And I got to tell you, huge amounts of business go through those portals. When you're talking about where does most of our business go through, it's going huge amounts through portals because that process is so easy. We have a brand new comp plan now. Okay, for the first time, this just happened. We announced it in January. To pay unlimited debts, so literally. Now, as leaders, all of us on this phone, for the first time, we're going to be able to override, and I say this, tens of thousands of customers that come aboard. We have that ability. Of course, I think you mentioned earlier we have, the opportunity to go get telecom, and it's kind of neat on the leaderboard. There's, I'm starting to see all the time now telecom accounts, trickling in. That's a whole new stream of residual income that we never had before. And there's of course it takes a little bit of on a difficulty level. If you're saying 1 to 10 the difficulty level, natural gas and you might be around a 3, and maybe telecom might be more in the 4, 5, 6 range. But the thing about it is, just like anything else, if you learn about it and you have opportunities and you have a big outreach, if you have thousands of people on your team, guess what you're going to have, whether you want it or whether you don't? Telecom. You will have that going through your system. And that's what's great, because you might say, man, I don't ever want to get a telecom account. Then all of a sudden someone on your team goes and gets a large one and you're getting a percentage of that. Wow, I love telecom. It's kind of neat. So we have telecom. We have audits, which is just a great way to get into the door of going out and getting things done. And there's actually a one-time payment for audits. So we have a chance to not only use audits to gather the telecom and electricity and gas bills, but that you actually get a commission for that, when an audit is found to have a recovery. And, I can also tell you that I'm confident within the next 12 months that we're going to be talking about whole new ways we are able to do our businesses, like I say, with the processes. I mean, so if you're asking me, I would say right now, I call it do your homework. Do your homework and promote yourself. You guys are all going to want to be regional director within this next year. I mean, every single one of you is going to want to be a regional director. That allows you to take advantage of, what I think is going to be massive growth, with this company. And like you said earlier, Will, is basically right now in your back office, you guys, you can go back there for the first time in company history. You can see your organization below level 1, and that's thanks to Rich Weinberg, who has been really working hard at that ever since we really, announced this. And it's, and he's in the process right now where very soon the customer points, as they're part of our compensation plan, are going to be added. You're going to be able to see all of not only your customer points, but your agents' customer points. How many customer points do your agents have for the first time in history? Also, for the first time in history, we're going to be paying out commissions below level 1, okay? Lots of leaders are going to be looking forward to capturing income otherwise they would never have been able to get a hold of before. Now, through our compensation plan, you're going to be capturing income for, it doesn't matter how many levels it is, as long as they're in your senior consultant group, your regional director, your national director. Can you imagine real soon, every time a customer hits your team, you're going to be notified live, and I don't care if it's 5, 10, 15, 20 levels deep. Can you imagine, here, hey, 5 points are added to your team, and you might have days where you're going to bed and you wake up in the morning because, you have groups all over the place. You wake up in the morning and new customer points are added to your team while you sleep, okay? And that, you guys, I can tell you, it's an amazing thing where agents and customer reps, you go to your back office and bam, you log in there and you see, hey, last night 4 new agents added and 15 new customer points, and it is a feeling that I can't describe. It's like, wow, this is really working, and we had that chance here, and so I would just say, like, in the future, I see our processes getting better, our ability to do business getting better, and I think these next 12 months are going to be just amazing for us. And so that's why I would do what you got to do. Do your homework right now. If you're on this call, and if you're not a regional director, the reason I say regional is because, man, obviously get to senior consultant first. You have to do that. But then once you get into senior consultant, get yourself to regional director. Because, man, once you get there, you are going to be able to capitalize, I believe, on some of the greatest growth years that we're going to have in the next few years here.
Man, I just wanted to thank you for the time that you not only that you put into our company and your commitment to the growth of this company. Personally, you've been able to help me so much and coach me along the ways, is because, sometimes your vision can only be as big as what you believe you can have, and you've helped increase my vision. And considering you've had an organization of 22,000 agents, that's what I want. Now, I'm not there, but I know at some point I can be there because you've done it, and you've taught me what you did to get there, and it's not really that complicated. So I would encourage all of you, because I have to have this. I'm not just some leader that just gets things done and based on my own understanding. I have to get, knowledge from other leaders in the company, and Matt's one of them, on how to do things, what their approach is, and everything else. And when you're talking about doing your homework, Matt, or for the agents on this call, I have to do my homework all the time to be on top of everything. So I would encourage that with all of you. I would encourage all of you to get a hold of your regional director. Each one of us is assigned a senior, regional, and national director, and I would get a hold of your regional director and find out exactly where you're at and where you want to go. And if it's just getting 3 accounts maybe this week, then that's what it is. Just start somewhere. I heard a great guy say one time, it's always too soon to quit, but never too late to start. So it doesn't matter really where you guys are at, whether you've been around or just got started. It's just get started. So, Matt, you added so much value, I think, to all of us, me personally, and I can speak hopefully for all of my team that's on the call and everybody within the company that's on the call. I wanted to thank everybody that's on this call for plugging in. I did want to let you guys know if you want to get on tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be doing a corporate overview at the join.me/CEO, the number one energy. If you have anybody that might be interested in looking at CEO, I did want to open that up to you guys. So, and then get on this conference line if you're interested in seeing that. So, Matt, it's about 1:30. We try to keep these calls down to a half hour. We can either end it or I can open it up for a couple questions for Matt. And if you need to get off the phone, then that's totally understandable. We've reached our half-hour mark. Are you okay with that, Matt?
Oh, sure, Will. Yes, definitely. I'll be right here.
So if anybody has any questions for Matt, hit *6, and Matt should be able to answer any questions you guys have. Well, Matt, you know what? You covered a lot of bases. This is one of those calls that I don't know if anybody could think of asking you any questions because you covered so many bases, and it was one of those packed full of information, useful tool info. So on that note, guys, next week we're going to have a conference call again. I'm not sure, is it Nathan or is it Nathan next week?
Nathan.
Matt?
Yep.
Hey, Will?
Nathan will be here next week.
Oh,
hey, Will?
Yep.
Yeah, I got one question for Matt. Hey, Matt, this is Malcolm.
Hey, Malcolm, how are you?
How you doing? Good. Hey,
Good.
I just got one question. When you mentioned when you hit critical mass, I know the law of large numbers. Any estimate on how many recruits when you think you felt that critical mass happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I remember going to a party one time, and it was an Excel party, so to speak. It was in the summer. It was in September. It was the month of September, and it would have been maybe about my second year in the business or so. So some of you guys here, I'm not sure how long you've been in the business, but this is year 2, okay? And I remember back then, you know how like Rich has this downline that you can go see and access it live? Well, Malcolm, I used to have to call in to find out how many agents I had and I had a service rep, so I'd call in and I'd say, this is, and I got so excited sometimes I'd call in like 5 minutes later, and I remember the person like, Mr. Hirschenberger, your business is growing fast, but not that fast. You know what I mean? So I just couldn't believe it with the number. I wanted to see if I talked to another person. But in September, I kid you not, of the second year, I had 1,000 people join my team that month. So that would be as far as the growth, and that was just through levels 1 through 7, because that was all I had access to at that time. So I had 1,000 people join my business in 1 month. So imagine that. I mean, you're talking about, that's that over 30 a day thing. You know what I mean? That we're talking about, when that was going on. So as far as the number of reps I had, it was below 5,000. I know that. It was below 5,000. But I had, 1,000 came on in 1 month. I'll never forget it. Because I remember after I hung up the phone, I just stood there and stared. Because think about it from this perspective, Malcolm. If 1,000 people, I had no idea what was going to happen. I had never gone through anything like this, right? So I just joined up. I find 1,000 people. I knew it was getting close. I kept calling, so I called. It was at the end of September, my second year. And 1,000 people, it finally toppled. It was like 1,000 and just a little bit over. And because in my mind, I was thinking, oh, my gosh, what's going to happen here? Is next year, what are we going to have? Is there going to be 10,000? You know what I mean? That are going to grow on a time? I didn't have any clues, so my imagination ran wild, of course. But so that's kind of like a neat little story about that kind of that critical mass thing.
Yeah. Hey, I got one more question if you have time. This will be a pretty short one. in regards to, I know when you're recruiting long distance, I know it has to be through email, things like that, for the paperwork, correct? But locally, when you face-to-face someone, did you carry applications with you, things like that? I mean, how was your process on a face-to-face basis? Because I feel like I should keep on me in case, it happens right there. You know what I mean? So that's my question.
Malcolm, that's a great question. It's a great point. I used to call them blue forms and pink forms. And the blue form was the sign-up form. It's not as easy as it is now where someone has an iPhone or whatever it is that they have that they're able to sign up. So back then, it was blue forms and the customer forms were pink forms. So I used to tell people, hey, you get 1 blue form and 3 pink forms and you get paid. You know what I mean? And so so definitely be prepared. Wherever you go, to be honest with you, CEO Energy is a business you do as you go. You don't get up. You don't necessarily get up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to go do CEO Energy. CEO Energy is 24/7 as you go throughout life. You could be at a soccer game watching your kids play soccer. You could be, walking out of church and you're talking with someone you don't know. So be prepared, whatever that means to you. As far as to be able to have that conversation, or to if it's a form, if it's something you're going to give them, or if it's just something that you have in your phone, whatever it is. That's a great question, Malcolm. And I got to tell you guys, the reason that's a great question is because if you're going to do some big things over the next couple of years, these are going to be a busy couple of years. Meaning, you're going to have stuff going on for a couple of years. You got your family, you got your job, okay, and now you got CEO Energy. So this is going to be a busy couple of years. But I promise you, from experiencing this before, you will not. If you have this kind of residual income coming in on the side, it is such a good thing. I remember we used to have it where you had to, the checks, you go out to the mailbox, and every single month, whether you did something or whether you didn't do something, you had at least that portion of that check coming. It's a powerful and fantastic thing.
Gotcha. You know what? I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
It might help. This day and age, everything is going paperless. I have a tablet. I signed papers on a tablet before. Is that coming, or do you have that already in process, like with the application, the contract rather?
Yep.
Because if you could email that, they could sign it on their end on a tablet. Don't even have to print it. So that was my question.
Yep, and that is a good one. And what, like I said, where do I see us in the next 12 months with processes? Everything that you just said right there, I see that all transpiring because, Fred Krug and Tom Hart, they are constantly, along, of course, working with Rich Weinberg, looking at ways to take this process and make it as simple as possible. I've heard things. I was on the phone with Fred Krug and a supplier the other day, and I get so excited sometimes because I was listening to some of the ideas and concepts that they have as far as being able to offer to us in the near future. And I got to be careful, of course, talking about stuff like that because it's hard to talk about stuff you don't have at this moment. But I can say that, guess what? These processes and everything that we do is going to always improve. But all that means in the meantime is we got to do a little bit better at our coaching than we do until when those processes are earlier. And guys, just so you know, the same thing happened with that other company that I was talking about. At first, our methods of getting customers and doing everything, they were kind of archaic as far as how we had to do it. And sometimes we'd send a form in, the customer didn't even get switched over. 1 month they lost all the customers, because they switched carriers. I mean, it was a mess. You know what I mean? As far as what they were doing. This, of course, we haven't ran into any problems like that with this, but Fred Krug is trying, and Tom Maher, they're trying everything they can to continue those processes. And a lot of you guys are helping with that too. The agents out there are always involved and giving us input. And so another great question, just look for, over the course of time for these changes and these things starting to drip in. And, starting with what Rich is doing right now in that back office.
All right. That's it for me. I know I have more, but that's it.
No problem, though.
Hey, thank you very much.
Do we have any other last-minute questions? We're a little over, but we're welcome to take whatever you guys have. No questions? Well, hey, guys, all of you, thank you for being on the call. Matt, thank you for allowing me to interview you to, help promote the growth of our company. You just added so much more to what we can be doing, and I think you're able to help all peoples at all levels throughout the company today. So anyway, guys, make it a great week. Try to get a few more bills in personally. Figure out who maybe you haven't talked to or sat down with or talked to CEO with, and let's make things happen. Talk to you later. See you at the top.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Matt.